There we go. What up, boss? How you doing?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
We're good, man. Excited to have you on. So you're the founder of Remix, which is
Yeah.
building. I mean, kind of the big vision is like the TikTok for gaming.
Mm.
So you recently announced your $5 million seed round. Can you fill us in on the big vision that got Archetype, Coinbase variant, etc.? So excited.
Yeah. TikTok for games was definitely just like it all spawned from literally like the late night 2 a.m. doom scroll, and you see the video and the guy playing the game, and they're obviously like terrible at the game, so it frustrates you, and you're like, God, let me just play the game really quick and fix all these errors I'm seeing. I just want to try it, and so we just had this idea of like it'd be really cool to have a gaming platform that was really built much more like a social network around games versus images and content. And the obvious limitation was games. Like, how would you ever get enough games, and how would games ever be easy enough to make as easy as you can post videos or text? And so one of the things that got really excited, like Variant and Archetype really excited, was we just had this vision about a year ago to build this more like open network for games. And a lot of it was because of this tailwinds we saw forming with mini apps and with AI, especially. Like, we basically, as engineers, we just saw that like AI was getting and making our jobs so much easier. And we thought, like, yeah, maybe in like 2 years, anyone's going to be able to write code, and like anyone's going to be able just to use prompts to build code. And this future's actually been coming a lot quicker than we expected.
One month later.
yeah, about 1 month later. And then about last October, we were building what Remix used to be called Farcade, and we were building like this first version of it. And we are building an AI game studio just as an internal tool to help us build and launch a bunch of games. And our goal was to build, a new game every week was the goal. And when we built this little tool, and in the first day, our team built like 5 or 6 games in like 24, 48 hours. And the craziest part was like, we didn't have to write any code. We thought we were going to have to like handhold it a lot more, but the LLMs had gotten so good that they basically did all of the coding. And so that was really this epiphany that like this future of a TikTok for gaming was probably coming sooner than later. And we just had this belief that if people had the ability to like prompt and build games, they probably would be interested in doing it. And so that's what really got them excited. Is it really feels like this paradigm shift in mobile gaming, and something that we, I think, all really believe is going to be here in one way or the other. And we want Remix to be like the flagship for it.
So you look a lot smaller today than you did last time I saw you, which was me looking up on. No. You look at the IRL, you standing on stage at the Base App event, which was wonderful to see. But I wonder if you could just catch us up on because I think there's a lot of people using and playing your games, right? Like, can you just maybe give us some of the data behind some of your early releases?
Yeah. So we have around 600,000 users on the platform. We have the coolest part was we launched the AI Game Studio in beta access just to our Farcaster users. And for Remix is only playable as a mini app right now. We have a native mobile app coming soon, but it was only playable through Farcaster, through World App, now through the Base app and Telegram. We launched with just our own games. Then in March, we basically opened it up for Farcaster to build games. And since March, we've had almost over 1,000 games built. We basically have more than a game coming out every single day. We're just finishing like our OpenSea game jam. So we've had like 100 games built around the OpenSea branding in just the last week by our users. So yeah, we have 1,000 games, hundreds of thousands of users. We've done $0 in marketing, which is really cool. It's all just been viral, word of mouth, and just virality through these mini apps, which has been super cool. So
wait, there's scale on Farcaster?
Yeah, we got all of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm curious how you think about, as you move towards this vision of TikTok of gaming. Obviously, a mobile app's going to be very core to your strategy. But I'm curious, as you get there, how you think about mini apps. Is it purely are they just useful in this kind of bootstrapping kind of iteration phase? You see it as like a distribution strategy longer term? Like, how do you see the mobile app and mini apps playing together?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So like our mini app strategy evolves quite a bit. And I think a really cool part about what we've built is I think we're actually like laid a pretty good blueprint of like what a success outcome can be if you build really cool mini apps. Like, we basically went from no users, no distribution in like 6 months to building like a really amazing product and raising a seed round. And like now we're like growing outside of this mini app ecosystem, which I think should just be like an amazing thing for builders and actually get people really excited about the potential of mini apps, which is distribution is everything. Getting your first 100 users is a nightmare. It's so hard. There's so much vying for everyone's attention all the time. And so mini apps are just a really great way to get that distribution, which is so hard to do organically, especially if you don't have a following or know anybody. Like mini apps are like really the first way a builder can go viral versus like content having to go viral. Like you can build a really cool mini app experience and go very viral, and you can have 0 followers. And so it's a very cool thing about them. But to your question of our future with them is we still love them. And I think the biggest problem with the Remix is it's kind of like this like appception. Like it's really like an app within an app within apps. And like, I think it actually makes it a bad mini app for that use case. I think the best part of our mini apps is the individual games. And so we want to actually make our mini app focus much more about like, hey, Jesse and Josh, Jess and Josh, I want you to play my game. And I just send you a message or send you a link to just that specific game. And you can instantly play that game with me. And then you use that as like a hook to onboard into the next event or into our mobile app. So we want to make them more like bite-sized experiences as opposed to, this giant app that feels, I think, a little daunting when you're just scrolling the feed. And now all of a sudden you're in this like other huge experience.
All right, so very clearly you see a platform play here. I'm curious what the business model you guys are exploring is here, specifically for your developers who are going to be investing a bunch of their time. Even if it's less time to go build something, there's still a meaningful creative output here, and also for yourselves.
So the business model here I think is cool because I think we get to really lean on a lot of like I think traditional Web 2 business models, but bring them on chain. And so like I don't think we need to get too creative or too fancy because I think there's a lot of products when you're building a Web3 style game, you really want to try and find where you fit. And sometimes the game is the tokens, it is the trading, it is the NFTs, and like that's the really exciting core loop to the gameplay. The core loop for us is really just like enabling builders to build these great experiences and share them really quickly. And so like that's the flywheel we're trying to build, and then we want to leverage on chain for what we think it does an incredibly good job at, which is monetization, value transfer, and things that are very global. Like in our previous company, we wanted to enable builders to make money, but having them set up a Stripe account, and then like that didn't work in certain countries. And like we had like a really big Russian influencer, and we had like no way of paying them. It's such a nightmare trying to do a lot of this like value transfer between like an end user and a creator. And so on-chain we think is going to be like the biggest catalyst for it. So for us, we're going to monetize the consumer app very similar to how you'd want to monetize just a standard like Web 2 mobile game where they have a soft currency, but all the transactions are on chain. And then for the builders, we want to really make it super simple for them to create storefronts, in-app purchases, advertising. So we want to streamline that ability for people who have never written a line of code before. They can now create all these items and assets and tradables on chain, and they just get a benefit from those things without having to know a single line of Solidity or smart contracts. They might not even know that any of the stuff is even on chain. And that's kind of the goal for our builders, because we're really trying to go after people that have, again, very little technical experience.
So most of the other crypto vibe coding platforms are all tokenizing the apps, and you guys aren't. So what's your thinking around that? Is that something you're excited by?
Yeah, I'm like, I guess like I've been in crypto for a little over 10 years. I'm still like figuring out how I feel about the tokenizing of every single thing. I think it's kind of this inevitable future where it's going to happen more and more. I'm pretty good friends with Jesse Pollock, and we get in some pretty lively debates about like the content coins and all that stuff. Because the one thing I will say is I'm wrong about most things. Like if I was to guess a business model or product that would never work, I'd be like, yeah, meme coin, like token launchpad, that would never work. Why would anyone buy these things? And that's one of the most successful products of all time. So, but I think for us, the biggest reason why we don't want to go like the full token route was the coolest part about our product that makes me really excited about it is our biggest game was actually built by my co-founder, who's my brother. Our sister built the biggest game called Geo Crush, which is like a Candy Crush game. It's been played almost 2 million times. It has like an incredibly loyal like consumer base that like there's a lot of people on Remix that just come and play that one game every day. And this idea that like I really felt like she should be making a lot of money from all this attention in this game that she built, but she didn't it scared me to be like, yeah, you should now launch your token, and now you have this token that's going to be like the way you monetize this thing. I think it's a scary thing for a lot of people, and I wanted something that felt a little simpler from like a consumer standpoint, from a builder standpoint, because I think there's a lot of overhead to launching a token. As you can see, like, all the blowback Jesse had to deal with when he launched like the content coins and all this stuff, like people crucified him. And I think we're like maybe starting to turn a corner where like it's becoming more and more okay. But like it really scared me thinking about like, I think my sister deserves to be paid for this thing. I don't want her to deal with the overhead of having a coin just yet. I'm not sure like we're there as a space to handle that. And so I think we're more excited by trying to make the game much more about the games and the content and the gameplay versus a trading PvP app.
Yeah, I don't want my sister to have a token either.
it's
scary. At all.
I don't know. I think my sister's token would slap. And
Again, I think it's
you, man. Yeah.
I think they're good for very certain situations. I think I would like it just to be more of a choice. Like if you do, I would love if we got to the point where like you graduated into this idea of like a game studio, which is backed by a token, is this like almost like a quasi equity vehicle for the biggest builders on our thing. And we talk about it like, what if you could have invested in Zynga when they got really big on Facebook? Like that's kind of the parallel that we draw that I think is really cool. But in the meantime, we really wanted this base level of spending amongst consumers that didn't feel so PvP crypto. And so we think of it more like, the Twitch subscriber or the YouTube subscriber. We wanted something that felt very familiar and something that didn't feel too exotic on the onset.
Yeah, and I think there's an argument to be made. Like I think I was tweeting about, Zora coins are meme coins, and I think that you can get stuck in this idea of like, oh, well, what makes all individual pieces of content valuable?
Mm-hmm.
And my point was kind of like that almost doesn't matter because of kind of the flywheel they've set up, and that this sort of speculative demand at the creator level kind of lifts all boats. But I think there is, the very fair critique of that, and I think this comes sooner or later, is like, okay, well, where is the consistent money coming into the system? And I think revenue from real users who are getting value out of it is, I think, clearly going to be a post of it or a piece of it. And so I think, it's I think both going after both for like either first, I think is a very justifiable strategy. But I think you probably get to the same place at some point, or at least where, Zora coins, the most successful ones will be ones where there is native demand for some utility or status or whatever. And it sounds like if you're able to go build a machine that is generating real revenue, tokenizing these things becomes far more compelling. Which brings me to a tweet that you sent the other day that I was like, oh, I loved. You tweeted, I'm increasingly convinced crypto Twitter has no idea what flywheels mean. What are people getting wrong here, and what sort of inspired that tweet?
I think crypto Twitter loves to repeat things they've heard without a real understanding of what it means. And I think like I saw this on a podcast the other day, and I'm going to paraphrase and butcher it a bit, but like there's this like general belief that like people who are cynics or critics are more intelligent. Like, and I think that like proliferates through Twitter, where it's like everyone thinks they feel smarter on Twitter because they can critique your app or your token or your coin. And then I also think another way to appear smart is the buzzword soup. And, I saw someone tweeting like the flywheel's flywheeling on all this stuff. And I was like, I don't think you have any clue what a flywheel is. Like you're just saying these words to try and get people very excited by your token. And I think it largely comes from people just pumping bags. And I think that's like always the downside of this content era, is it really like perverses engagement and entertainment and incentives. And it's, the same thing we see with InfoFi, which is like, hey, did you guys have me on because you really like what I'm doing and you really like Remix? Or is it like you're a part of like some pre-TG on Kaido and now you guys like get a token unlock because like now that's like it's like
it's the latter. It's the latter.
Wait, do we get that? Is that a thing?
We'll talk about that.
All
right. But it's yeah, I'm trying to say it out loud so that people don't know, we're being sneaky about it. But it is one of those things where I don't, obviously we need to find a better way to like reward creators and like have everybody like get these bigger unlocks. And I love what Zora and the team is doing, because I just love the creativity and I love like trying to push the boundaries of what exists. I'm personally, I think I'm more on the skeptical side because I just want to see, again, the flywheel start. But I think like that, a lot of it to me is, I guess, to that tweet, Jess, was just like, I think crypto Twitter is a lot of like pseudo intelligent stuff. And I think it just bugs me sometimes, just like open Twitter and see like a bunch of people spouting nonsense all the time.
The feeling I see and I share is like, come on, man. I mean, come on.
Come on.
Button, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's so yeah. And again, I think it's tough as a builder too, when like you're trying to build in a space and like you're not always rewarded as being like an honest actor in crypto. Sometimes you have to be the hype man. You have to like lean into like, you know, I was up till 2 a.m. You guys aren't going to believe this thing I built. Like it's going to blow everyone's mind. And like, it's always the announcement of an announcement. And like, it's really hard to not fall into that trap, because then you just feel like you have no attention, you have no excitement. And so I guess sometimes I just get like, you know, I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm like, okay, fucking like I gotta say something now.
No, I mean, I think that it's kind of one of the core intentions of the show. I think anybody listening to you here is going to walk away with a sense of, I don't know, both how authentically you approach what you're building and the thoughtfulness that you approach what you're building. And I think, you know, Twitter in and of itself is just very much not the service area for that. You need to be able to look into somebody's eyes, I think, or at least see like the stream of consciousness, the reactions, etc. So to me, there's a yearning for more authenticity on the internet that I think is pretty big, and I don't know, I think it's a worthwhile thing to be investing in. All right, we got to leave it there, Chuck. Super stoked on the progress. There's actually a lot more I wanted to get in with you, or get into with you. So maybe we'll bring you back on sooner than later.
Absolutely, would love to come back. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Awesome, man. Cheers,
you guys.